Evening, everybody. Welcome to Saturday night.
Saturday night at the movies.
Saturday night in the movies. It's a Saturday night show tonight because I can't do Sunday. So I thought rather than cancel for the week, we're going to do a Saturday night interesting modelling company Christmas Carol show. So here we all are, and we're joined by, well, look at this. It's like a triumvirate of three.
It's got a band back together, haven't we?
Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
How are we? Not today, COVID. Not today.
Excellent. Well done. You've got
Good
a lateral
one.
flow test. Can I borrow it?
Eh?
I said you've got a lateral flow test. Can I borrow it?
No, because I've used it.
Joke. Yeah. No, I've managed to procure off of the NHS website. I did manage to procure a fresh lateral flow test kit. So,
yeah, Jim Altergott says the three wise men. I think that's a stretch, isn't it?
He must be new here.
I think
Is he new here? I don't know. I'd like to apologise to everybody. I appear to be in my Boris Johnson phase of life at the moment because I look like I've only just got up. So anybody that notices that I've not had a shave or that my hair looks like I've just rubbed a balloon against it, then I'm really, really sorry about that. But I just thought I might fit in with the way that high-ranking members of the intelligentsia work on live streams.
Have you held an illegal Christmas party today?
Not today. No,
you're good. You're good. You're fine.
But I did indeed have 8 of them last year. But I will be investigating myself and
then stepping down a day later when you realise when it's
yes, and the results of any investigations will, of course, not be made public on the International Modelling Co. page. So,
I'm so glad. I'm so glad this is the Christmas show where we can be a little bit more free and easy because.
Well, let's face it, John. Everybody else has been over the last 12 months, haven't they? And I don't see why we can't be anymore. So
I'm getting. They're all up in the gallery at the moment, going like this. So yes, no, we're fine.
What's that in my earpiece? What's that in my earpiece?
Yes, exactly. Actually, Stuart Tucker says horror show more like. Yeah, absolutely. Stuart.
Yeah, I think that's probably. What's that clicking sound? Who's making the clicking?
Yeah, absolutely. That's Spencer, I think, with his headphones.
I'm tapping my mouse, and that's not in any way a euphemism. I am literally tapping my mouse.
It's not me. No, it's not me.
Oh, it's like a clicking sound. Yeah.
It's him down there.
It's me. It is indeed me. So
anyway, look, we'll try and keep it to an hour tonight because things,
reasons, because strictly, apparently.
Yeah, strictly, we'll try and keep it to an hour then.
Actually, on said subject of Strictly, I was actually kicked out of the living room. I was watching the Leeds Arsenal game, and Elizabeth said, "Well, haven't you got something better to be doing?" And I said, "Why?" And she said, "I'd like to watch Strictly." So I missed the last 10 minutes of the game, obviously, to come on here, but I was literally kicked out. That can't be right, can it?
Well, she is the boss. You're not just doing your job.
Patently so, but...
Here endeth the argument, and I'm not defending you and crossing Liz, so...
Have I answered my own question there? Is that
you want to know what the score is?
Well, it was 3-1 when I was looking at it.
Yeah, no, it's 4-1 now. I think that'll be the lead game on Match of the Day tonight.
Apparently so. Yes, I think it's going to be the first and last game on there tonight, by all accounts.
Anyway, I can guarantee you Drew won't be tuning in to watch that.
Drew is currently going.
Let's try.
Actually, in defence of Match of the Day, it's the only football related thing I don't mind watching because it literally is the match compacted into 5 minutes for just the highlights. So you just see the good bits. I can watch that.
Well, yes.
The idea of sitting there for 90 minutes is just no, sorry. Moving on.
Course,
anyway,
I've just suddenly realised I forgot to send you the show notes for tonight, but we'll wing it
I
anyway.
presume that
we have notes.
I presumed when you hadn't done that, it was just because we were going strictly ad lib.
No,
strictly chancing.
We are going to talk tonight about. Well, I think Drew, you can lead on this one. This is Kinetic 148.
Well, this is Kinetic. They've announced the Kefir C10 or the COAM, whatever you want to call it, but it's basically the Kefir with it should have a one-piece windscreen, which you can't see there, and basically a radar nose and things like the Derby missiles and stuff there. Colombia and Ecuador both use this variant of the Kefir. So they've chosen to upgrade or add an additional sprue to their Kefir C2 C7 kit and produce the C10. I mean, I didn't know about this a fair while ago, but yeah, there you can see the new nose parts, Derby missiles, and various assorted new instrument panels and things like that. So yeah, I mean, great release. I'm really, I like this model anyway. I built a couple of them, and I think although it was released a couple of years before their Mirage 3, it's actually a much better model than the Mirage 3. Yeah, I look forward to this. It's a nice release.
Apparently, they're also doing a Cheetah D as well.
Yes, they have got they have got a Cheetah D on the way. It'd be nice to get a Cheetah C at some point, but that's a really major. That need completely new fuselage halves from front to back and stuff like that. But it would be nice to see that at some point. That's really the ultimate expression of the Mirage, isn't it? The Mirage 3, I should say. So yeah, it's an upgrade to an existing kit rather than one of Kinetic's stellar new toolings, we should say, like the Pucara, and because you built that, haven't you, Spence?
Yeah.
Wasn't it as good a build as it looks in the box?
It's every bit as good. Yeah.
I've got one. I mean, I was actually doing a shopping list last night on Hannon's of bits I could add to it to gussy it up these days, and I got to about 50 quid and thought I could. Yeah, it'd be a nice little project though.
Well, I think I'm not sure whether we talked about this earlier on in the year about that. A couple of weeks ago about the Pucara, because we sort of come to this point, don't we, where we start thinking about kits of the year and all of that sort of stuff. And I sort of stuck my neck out and said that I think the Pucara, with everything taken into account, is my kit of the year this year. And bearing in mind that I built the Tamiya F4 when it came out, that's up against it. But when you take into account the quality of the kit, its accuracy, the levels of detail, how easy it is to build, and also the fact that it is an astonishingly cheap price. I mean, it's in OV10 ballpark in terms of
I think it's about 35 quid or whatever you can get it from.
When you take that into account and how much I enjoyed it as a project, I definitely think it's my kit of the year. It's one of those kits, when you finish one and you think, I'd actually build this again almost instantly because it's that nice. The OV10 arrived only a few weeks ago. I bought mine, and I haven't built mine. I know you've built yours. I think if I'd have built that kit and I'd have had it sat on the desk and I was looking at it, I think that I could think that might have gone up.
I'm going to say at this point, it's funny. It's a week of or a year of the observation types, because for me the OV10, the ICM OV10 is my kit of the year at this point. It was just an absolute joy from the moment I opened the box. For something that is quite a complicated shape. Let's be fair. It's there's a lot of glass, and it's a twin boom and all that sort of thing. I don't have the Phantom to compare it against because I haven't even seen that kit yet. So
I mean, the Phantom is stellar. There's no doubt about it.
Can we boot him, please?
Yeah, it is absolutely stellar from start to finish. But the Phantom is also £100.
Yeah,
and although you value for money is such a subjective thing, isn't it? Because to one person, £100 is going to be pocket money. To another person, £100 is going to be a budget for a year. So it's very difficult to assess something in terms of value.
Yeah, it's for me. It's not that I don't think that Phantom is value for money, because I think for what you've got, it is value for money. It's not overpriced. No. It's just that things like the Pucara and the OV10 are spectacular value for money.
Yes.
From start to finish, just against the being able to say the Tamiya Phantom is, you are getting 100 quid's worth of kit. I think I don't have an argument with that, but it's almost like saying, but the OV10, which you pay under £30 for, you're getting 60 quid's worth of kit.
Yes, I think that's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's such a spectacular model.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is, as well, Drew, is that sometimes with these things, and I think we're probably on the same page over these. When you build the Tamiya Phantom, as fabulous as it is, it's just another 48 scale Phantom once it's complete and it's sat on your shelf. When you build the Pucara, you've got something unique. It doesn't have anything else in its that goes head to head with it. The only thing that you've got that goes head to head with the OV10 is the old Italeri stroke Aurora kit or whatever it was. So you're that factors into it as well. Don't get me wrong. Anybody that thinks I don't think that the Tamiya Phantom is a good kit is way off. I mean, it's an extraordinary accomplishment. But taking into all of the other factors, it wouldn't be the top of my list for this year. Whereas 3 years ago, the Tomcat was so far the top of the list. And maybe as well, there's an element of that we've been spoiled, because we had the Spitfire, 48 Spitfire came out, the P38 came out, the Tomcats came out, the ME109 G6 came out, and then the Phantom came out, and it's almost like, they're going to be brilliant, and they were brilliant. I mean, whereas you know straight off the bat, if Tamiya are doing a new tool, it is going to be as flawless a build as it's possible to be. Yes. Yeah.
For me, a lot of the time now, I kind of think that generally with a lot of the Eastern European and Central European, stuff coming out, I feel the same way. You're virtually guaranteed a stellar model. You really are. But again, Tamiya is just what happens when money is no object when you're tooling something and producing it.
Yeah.
Clearly, absolutely. Whilst it might not have the highest, whilst like the 109 might not have the highest level of detail, might not be quite as detailed as the Eduard kit, what it is just absolutely flawless in its execution.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's kind of it, isn't it? It's almost sort of that, it's that familiarity kind of thing, isn't it? And then something comes out of left field. The Pucara comes out of left field. The OV10 comes out of left field.
Just looking at the comments, Spence.
Yeah.
The clicking appears to be your microphone banging on the zip of your.
It's either that, or it's got a break in it and it's just creaking all the time. Don't worry about it for now. We'll buy you a little clip-on microphone for Christmas. You can be part of the gang then.
Spencer's microphone banging on his jumpers there.
Yeah, it just keeps going. Don't worry about it.
Is it still doing it?
Yeah. It's
no, not at the moment.
No, I think it's actually probably a crack in the that's doing it now.
Yeah, it's doing it now, and it's nowhere near it. So
yeah, don't worry about it. We'll
we can.
We'll sort it out. We'll get you one of these little beauties.
I've ever seen.
Yeah, these are great. These are.
I can't hear anything.
No, well, hey ho. Let's move on. Let's crack on. We also have ClearProp, and this is their 1/72 scale.
I am gonna say, in the box, this is my kit of the year.
Right, I'll just finish that off. OV1A / JOV1A Mohawk. Drew, is this your kit of the year?
I'm gonna, as something I haven't yet built, as a product in the box. Yeah. It is just absolutely spectacular.
Does look good, doesn't it?
Those photographs don't really convey how absolutely incredible. The surface detail is on this, the engravings. They are the plastic and the quality of the engraving feels Tamiya. It's thin but deep, like Tamiya does. Absolutely consistent. You can see on the underside there where you'd normally get detail fading out because of the mold angles. You can see on that fuselage how it's just absolutely consistent and spot on. I think I said on my modeling page earlier this week, if it wasn't for the fact that it has an old-fashioned style etched fret with it, an old, limited run style etched fret with it, if you gave this to me in an Eduard box, I wouldn't blink. I'd just go, the sprue connections are tiny. It is absolutely 100% mainstream in appearance in every possible way.
How does it work in terms of value for money on this kit? I don't know how much this kit is.
Right, value for money is as we say, that is purely that's a subjective thing. This kit is about £38.
Right.
That is, that if you like for a 72nd scale kit of this size, that's analogous to paying £100 for a Tamiya Phantom, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it is.
It's at the upper end of the price range for this kind of kit, and it's expensive. There's no two ways about it. It's an expensive model. Is it worth it? That's subjective. I think it is. I wouldn't. Having seen this, if I wanted a Mohawk, it wouldn't even occur to me to get the Hasegawa one now, because this is available and it's just absolutely streets ahead. So, as a subjective thing to me personally, yes, this is worth £38 to me.
Yeah,
it's on the Hallants website at £34.99.
Right,
but I personally think that for a twin-engined, for an involved twin-engined aircraft like this, me personally, I would not have any qualms about handing over folded notes for that.
Box art's nice as well. So.
Yeah, it's a funny thing as well. We talk about value for money and that kind of thing, and your sort of subjectivity when it comes to whether or not you think something's value for money. Depends very much on whether or not you have a love for the subject.
Yes, absolutely.
To me, I wouldn't pay £35 for that model because I have no interest in it at all. I have no interest in the Mohawk.
That actually,
one way,
me.
Yeah, it just doesn't appeal to me at all. There's nothing about me. But then I can understand why people do. I think it's a fascinating airplane. It did an important job. I can understand all of that. But for me personally, would I want to build that? No, absolutely not. But I can certainly understand from seeing those photographs how impressive that looks. We're talking about a new company as well. We're not talking about a company that's been here for. They seem to have appeared within the last couple of years, and then boom, they're creating.
They started with that Gloucester Whittle, didn't they? The E2839, I think.
Yeah, they did.
But they've come a long way very, very quickly. It's like, the last kit of theirs I bought was the Sky Shark in 72nd scale, and that is absolutely beautiful. But this is just another step up again. Yeah, over that. I'm really surprised it's not a subject that appeals to you.
No, it doesn't. Doesn't appeal to me at all. No, it doesn't. And it is sort of one of those. It's funny, isn't it? How you sort of see things and you go, not for me. I'm not really interested in that at all.
Reality check time is, I just did a quick search, and the average price if you want to build the Hasegawa kit, and bear in mind that kit is over 50 years old, about 50 years old, and it's so old it was actually reboxed by Frog at one stage.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to build the Hasegawa kit, you're paying nearly, or if not over, 20 quid for a reissue.
See, that's expensive. That is expensive because there's a lot of kits in that Hasegawa range, that subset of kits from them that you can pick up for about a tenner. That is quite expensive, isn't it? It's funny. It's a sort of
David Mummery says, really appeals to me, but we'll want to see a build done first for any pitfalls. Well, I think we'll be all eyes on Drew in the new year when he's finished all his homework.
Hang on, why have I got to be the one for all the pitfalls?
You got one there
because you've got one.
Yeah, but maybe I want to wait until other people
just that small.
maybe.
Apart from the small technicality you've got.
I don't know. Yeah. Zero risk modelers.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose I've sort of opened a slight can of worms, really, with the it's not of interest to me, but I guess that is something that has kind of comes up every now and then, you know, for us all, doesn't it? Because
I mean,
we get to build things.
Genuinely surprised it doesn't interest you, because I thought you'd be, you know, you like the OV10, you like the Pucara. I genuinely thought you'd be, that's nice, I like that.
No,
it's just something, but it's, you know, again, subjective opinions and subjective feelings, isn't it?
Yeah,
I absolutely love it. I always have loved it from the first time I ever saw it when I was a kid. It's just oddball enough to really be interesting to me. And that kit's got all the, you know, dropped flaps and all this kind of stuff, you know, all the air brakes, everything. And that's one where I don't actually mind the air brakes being separate, because you can see them deployed quite a lot on the ground.
It's not a curbside kit, let's put it that way.
No, very much, and you know, the etched fret is extremely extensive. So, you know, it's but, you know, if I was going to say the one thing that annoys me a little bit about it is that you pay 35 quid and you don't even get a set of masks with it.
Right.
You know, you'd think
you know, problems.
They're well, for 35 quid, John, I think it could be.
Yeah,
I think it could be. You know, they're becoming pretty much standard inclusions in a lot of Eastern European stuff now, aren't they?
Or at least the pattern.
Yeah, or at least the pattern.
You know, sort of in the instructions.
So you know, if you're paying that much for something, you'd expect a pattern or the masks. But I mean, it's a minor issue. It's not, you know, the mask. You can buy the masking set for £4 or whatever. So I'll just do that. But you know,
let's move on. Another quick bit of news we're going to cram in tonight, and lo and behold, yes, Mini are doing a military version of the Tempo A400. They're doing a Lieferwagen, which is a little ambulance version. It still puts a big smile on my face, this kit, and I can't wait for it to turn up, because it just isn't just fabulous.
I love the fact that the exhaust is next to the front wheel.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, indeed.
Right underneath the driving compartment.
Yeah.
I would imagine
honestly, I mean, I'll go for the Civi one anyway. I'll build whatever one turns up first, quite frankly. But I just think this honestly, this kit of the year. I think this is the problem. You see, this is like, is it something I've built, or is it just a release that has put a big stupid smile on my face? And I think between this and the Lafley V15 from ICM, I just think these are just wonderfully esoteric and eccentric kind of subject matter. But people are going, oh no, not another Phantom, not another Panther, not another Spitfire. Well, there you go. There's the Tempo A400 Lieferwagen. So fill your boots.
I have to say, I like that box art. I can't quite work out whether that box art has been painted in a way that is trying to reflect that that's got a gloss finish, or whether it's trying to be to reflect that they've simply oversprayed the mud.
I was looking at that and immediately
without any masking.
I was thinking exactly the same, Spence, around that rear mudguard.
Yeah, because is
that overspray or reflection?
I think it's overspray, you know.
Yeah, I thought exactly the same, because I'm immediately thinking, how would I replicate that?
That's kind of cool, isn't it? Because it looks like they've done something similar around the headlights as well.
Yes.
Yeah. It is also reflection, because that is such magnificent box art. There are trees and foliage reflecting on it, but there's also what appears to be the outline of a cathedral.
A building, so maybe it is the gloss. That is a really beautiful piece of box art, actually.
Yeah.
From an almost eye-wateringly ugly vehicle.
Yeah,
well,
it's,
no
it's definitely Reliant Robin chic, isn't it?
But because of that, because it's preposterously ugly as a machine, then it certainly it has a charm about it, I think. I'm looking forward to seeing you build that. Actually, that'll be cool.
I'm looking forward to seeing me build it because it means I'd have cleared all the other projects I've got here. So, one last one tonight, and we've gone from kind of not ugly, but kind of an acquired taste to something which I think we can all agree is a beautiful looking aeroplane. Yeah, and that is Hobby Boss have announced a 70 seconds ago U2. Not the first time anybody's done this variant in this scale. Airfix pioneered their kit back in the 1980s. Then towards the end of the 1980s, Academy did one, which could be generously described as a kind of Airfix U2 tribute band with recessed panel details. He says, checking with the lawyers, they're fine. They're giving the thumbs up.
Really?
So now we've got Hobby Boss have weighed in and they're doing one. Retail on this one is around about £25 ish. Shane Weir did say to me, apparently it says it's got 150 parts, but going through the sprue shots here, I think I can count.
There's not that many parts, is there?
No, exactly.
I must admit, I'm surprised. I thought it was a lot more expensive than that.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot more. That is actually, again, that strikes me as value for money.
Yeah. And I will say there is, well, how much differently can you break a U2 down to the way Airfix and Academy did theirs?
Well, there isn't, is there?
No, I think the only thing perhaps I would have liked to have been done differently is actually having the wings plugging into a recess in the fuselage rather than having this.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah,
it feels
that's
a
one
bit.
of the things I didn't like about the Airfix cameras from a few years ago. Just that
it's a bit old-fashioned, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very kind of old way thinking, which is odd because we'll go off on a tangent here. But when you think about how the wings were tooled on those Airfix cameras, and yet Matchbox solved it with their PR9 kit some 20 years previously because they did it as again as a recess that you just push the wings into. Anyway, that's we're going off on a tangent, but some very nice schemes included in this kit, including
the Dayglow is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some comments about have Hobby Boss got the shape of the nose right, if the box art is to be, if the color profiles are to be trusted. Well, I wouldn't trust the color profiles. I think we'll wait to see what the plastic is like. Rob Monfils got one, or he's got one on order, so we'll be looking to Rob to give us some kind of commentary in that regard. Funnily enough, I like it when things are there's like a circular appearance to things. I was in Book Barn today, and I remember being in Book Barn with you, Drew. This is going back probably about 10 years ago. And I picked up a copy of Anthony Thornborough's Blackbirds book.
Right.
Which I don't know if you remember. It's that hardback book.
Yeah,
but it's got all these fantastic illustrations by the late great Mike Keep, which show you all the different variations on the U2 and the U2R. Things like the Ram's Horn versions. It's honestly, it was a book that I've been wanting to get hold of for ages. Finally scored a copy, £1. So wow. Yeah, I mean, I like the U2. I think it's historically a massively significant aeroplane. Politically, it's a massively significant aeroplane. But I'll be interested to see what Rob makes of this kit, and then kind of follow on from there.
But that's going back to the Mohawk. This one is one that I would be very interested in taking a look at, if only to have a go at that Dayglow scheme.
That Dayglow one was that's my choice.
Lovely, isn't it? It really is lovely.
But I'm trying to work out if that is natural metal or grey.
Yeah, or would it be sprayed aluminium?
I don't know if they were part of Project Lookalike around that time, so possibly it would be natural metal.
I'm just going to tell you what Hobby Boss think it is, bearing in mind Hobby Boss also thought that
actually, it's silver. You can see that X7, so.
But some of them, I know the Ram's Horn ones were painted in grey. because Paul Boyer did a conversion article in Fine Scale Modeler some 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But no, it is an incredibly interesting, an incredibly interesting subject. They're only doing the U2A in this boxing, which suggests, looking at the parts breakdown, that they're probably going to squeeze some other variants out of it.
There'll be a C along at some point with big intakes and a spine and stuff like that, and probably a rejig cube A, and things like that. But I really bemoan. I think we're long overdue a mainstream U2R.
I was just going to say. I still can't get it around my head that Italeri did the U2R/TR1 in 48 scale, but we've never had one. We've never had a mainstream kit in 77
the special hobby one's nice, but you kind of think we're kind of long overdue. The special hobby one's like quarter of a century ago now. That was a mid-late 90s sort of thing, and you kind of you'd think something that is that significant would have been tackled by a mainstream manufacturer long before.
We see them a lot in the UK now as well, don't we?
They're
frequent visitors to us.
Always been based in the UK. They've always flown from the UK, and it's one of those. It seems to be almost B-52 like in its absolute refusal to go away.
Yes, indeed. And also anybody that follows either Twitter or Facebook and follows any of the photographic sites, aircraft photographic sites, there are some amazing photographs out there of U2, the TR1s or whatever they're called now, U2Rs, from Fairford this summer. Some of them were amazing.
And on a U2S it is now. It's got an F118 engine, which is the same engine they use in the B2 Spirit.
There was a particularly brilliant set of photographs of one that's got shark mouth.
Yes, and also there's some spectacular video on YouTube of those Fairford visitors as well.
Oh, are there? Oh, right.
Really, really spectacular video. Yeah. And I first saw a TR1 as it was then in 1986 at Bournemouth Herne International Airport, the air show there. And it taxied out to do its display. And, I was expecting this lumbering brute to lumber down the runway and slowly lift off gracefully and slowly drift away into the distance. And it went off like a homesick angel.
Yes, they do, don't they?
It went like it was that after liftoff, and it was like that, and it just went straight up and out of sight. And I'm like, that was almost lightning-esque.
They are phenomenal things.
Because it's very, very light, and it's the engine is relatively powerful. So at low fuel states, it's
like you say. Not quite a stripped back F-15 Strike Eagle with everything removed, which is probably still the most spectacular single piece of footage I've ever seen coming out of this country of an aircraft. I have to say, I mean, when that video came out, there were a few people say, yes, but the Lightning used to do this. Yes, but an F-15 is much, much bigger. And actually, we'll put the two of them side by side, shall we? And let's see.
The Lightning didn't do it like that. F-15 on the air test without any CFTs and a light fuel load.
If anybody's not seen that video, you can Google it. Go onto YouTube. There's some footage on YouTube. I think it might be from last year rather than this year. From last year, and it was a post kind of engineering flight on an F-15E from Lakenheath, and they stripped everything off it. So it's got no pylons on it. It's got no CFTs on it. Nothing. It's literally a stripped back Eagle, and they do basically just a test flight on it. And does it go vertical from the runway? I think it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's vertical before the end of the runway.
It just sits on its tail, and it's
and the takeoff roll is also a couple of 100 meters, because it's just
extraordinary. It is extraordinary. And the way that they film it from the back of the aircraft as well, don't they? So you can see all of the jet pipes sort of moving in and out alternately as they're testing it, and then it just goes. And you just see it going down the run. Well worth a look. If you're interested in modern aviation and power, have a look at that. And also, Drew, I have to say, I did sort of chirp in at the video that you posted the other day of the 35s arriving at Lakenheath. They're going to annoy the neighbours, aren't they? Yeah, a lot.
And it's extremely noisy and loud.
And the thing was, extremely loud when it's not under power. It was drifting in, and it was extremely loud. I thought, they're not going to be happy with that, are they? I can't wait. It'd be interesting to see what they're going to be like, doing their thing low level, and we're going to get to see some good footage.
Well, hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll next couple of months that they'll start going up the loop. We'll get to see them back in the loop, because the RAF just don't seem to do anything with theirs really.
They're all up at they're all up in the lakes now, aren't they? Their low flying is up in the lakes rather than.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the RAF don't seem to do a lot with the F-35s full stop at the moment. No, they've got 24 of them, or 23 as it is now. And
they take them swimming.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming somebody is having to explain that from what we can read. Seems like it was an error, wasn't it? Rather than
it feels like everything's pointing towards that being a good old-fashioned balls up.
Yeah, it's a mistake.
A human factors issue, shall we say? Which always kind of pleases me. One, that obviously nobody was hurt, which pleases me. But two, it means that the aircraft is in the clear.
Yeah,
it's not an aircraft. It's not an engineering issue. It's a human in the loop issue. Which is
somebody mistook the F-35 for Sky One, I think, and just thought let's redock it with Skydiver. I'm just gonna blitz through a couple of bits and pieces here because whilst you were all doing whatever you were doing today, you two, that is, I went to Frome, and I haven't been there for a while, and I have picked up some of the Ammo of MiG acrylic figure painting sets, which of course are now going to turn me into a boss level figure painter.
Well, clearly,
because I've got the right paints. Clearly, I will now be banging out figures like this. Obviously, it's encouragement. Let's put it that way, and especially as I've got that crew for that Panzer to paint in the new year. So this is useful. It gives you kind of the shades to kind of take some of the guesswork out. So I'll give it a go. I am determined, still pig-headedly determined, to get to grips with this whole acrylic figure painting and shading and everything. I understand the theory, and I watch the videos, and I see other people doing, and I think that's blindingly obvious. Then I sit down at the workbench, and it completely eludes me. Anyway, so I've got the Africa Core set, which comes with 6 bottles of paint. Then I also bought the US Paratrooper set, which comes with 6 bottles. Don't think I'm doing any US Paratrooper. No, I will be doing some US figures at some stage in the new year, because I'll probably be painting an M10 Hellcat soldier as and when that kit turns up. So yeah, I want that. So I got that one as well. So again, it should give me a kind of heads up on how to get to grips with this technique. And then I also got the one for German figures. You only get 4 in this set, but it's a limited palette. And that's for doing black uniforms for German tank crews, which I've got to say, it is just, you think it's the easiest thing to paint. It's not. It's an absolute nightmare trying to do this, trying to get black to look interesting. So
no, the lower the contrast, the bigger the challenge.
Yeah, exactly. No. So I picked up some of those. I also picked up a couple of bottles of of Gunzi Aqueous, because I'm always running out of RLM 76, so we got a brand new one of them. Also some 404 khaki brown, because Dragon say that's the color that this should be painted in, this SAS Bushmaster. In fact, rather helpfully, they do on the finishing diagrams here, they do give you a little color key, and you know what, I bought the wrong one. I bought 404. I should have bought 403. Hey ho, that's what goes with going on memory. I'm from Dudley, cut me some slack. Anyway, look, it says 403. I've probably got 403 on the shelf here anyway. Don't worry about it. It says 403 here, so that's great. What colour is that then, Dragon? No, it doesn't actually list 403 on here at all. So good to see Dragon keeping up their penchant for super instruction sheets. So
Dragon's instructions are phenomenally impressive, aren't they?
they
And by phenomenally impressive, I mean absolutely appalling.
Yeah. You mean phenomenally unimpressive?
Yeah, just terrible. But they managed to keep it up for so long. That's such an afterthought. Although, we were talking about kit of the year earlier on, despite the fact that the Picara is kit of the year, that the instructions in that are the single worst I've seen in the last 30 years of modelling.
We keep going on at Kinetic about sorting their instruction sheets out because they have a long and glorious history of being some of the worst instructions in the business. Full stop. End of story. Basically, especially when you get to the color schemes, basically unusable.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Well, the good news is, having bought the wrong color, it turns out this is actually one of those kind of World War II Africa core color. So actually, I'm quite happy. It's down as khaki brown, German tank, World War II. I've just had a quick look on my paint shelf here. I don't have this one actually. In fact, I think they've introduced some new colours to the range. So,
John, you've just done the equivalent of the bloke walking away from a car crash, going, "Meant to do that."
Yeah, I meant to do that. Meant to do that. I also picked up some Mr. Surface Up mahogany in the jar.
Can I ask what you're planning to use that for?
Things. And stuff.
No, I don't mean that in any. That sounded like I was slightly ribbing you. That's not. I wasn't. I just wondered whether you had something specific in mind for the.
Apparently, it's a good color for doing priming on things like figures sometimes.
Oh, okay.
But it's a nice color to play with, essentially. So I also got the spray can as well, because reasons you don't need to know about. So. And before I cut back to YouTube,
all very cloak and dagger, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. You can see here. This is my awesome new A1 cutting mat, which I got off of Amazon. When we were at Jadlam last weekend, we were looking at the packing stations, and we were both really impressed with these humongous A1 cutting mats they had there. And Russ said, "Oh, I got them off Amazon. They're about 20 quid." I went on there. I looked up the identical one from Jadlam, and they were about 18 quid. Then I found this one for 12 quid. It's double-sided. It's awesome. That's all you need to know. Thank you and good night.
Okay. So in that little interlude, we found out that you bought the wrong paint.
No, I bought the right paint, just for the wrong vehicle.
Okay.
I meant to do that.
Yeah. We found out that you've bought a tin of mahogany Mr. Surfacer for reasons, but don't want to tell us what those reasons are.
Well, it's a new thing. It's a new thing. What more do you need to know?
And you bought a cutting mat that was only in imperial measurements, just in case we're turning the clock back.
No, I bought a cutting mat so that I've got a huge cutting mat. That means I can. It's easier to frame things for doing.
Is the other side metric?
Huh?
Is the other side metric? That's actually a serious question. That's actually. I was just wondering.
Hang about. I'll go and have a look on the picture I took.
Can't you just turn it over?
Well, that was
because the MacBook is resting on it at the moment. So
I see. Okay, fair enough.
I'll just check for you. Right, let's have a look. That side is that side is centimeters. And that side is inches.
Well, we can see that because it said 1 and 2 inch.
Yeah, so that's inches. That's that side, and then that side is centimeters.
That does seem like. I have to say though, an A1 cutting mat for 12 squids. That seems pretty good value to me.
Well, it also means that my Tamiya one here, which is really only supposed to be used for road shows, I can keep nice and pristine for road shows.
Yeah, I said that.
I don't get invited on these things, so mine is less than pristine. So I just leave it on the side. I'm the forgotten member of the IMC, so my cutting mat can be as.
I mean, quite frankly, I'm always happy using this, but
bit of hardboard. Can't go wrong with that. And all of that.
And in fact, I would argue that when people talk about putting together a modelling kit and they say about the price of cutting mats, I bought this cutting mat for photography purposes, but quite frankly, I'm most at home if I'm using an offcut of hardboard.
Yes. Can we change the subject very slightly?
No.
Away from cutting mats and all
away from modelling, right?
No. Onto a couple of things that arrived yesterday to me, for me, from Revell. You can probably pull the photograph from my Facebook page, John, if you want to nick that. They sent me a full spec kit of the Razor Crest that I built a couple of years ago. But they also sent me the new Outland TIE Fighter that's from The Mandalorian. The Outland TIE Fighter, if you've seen this thing, it's an unusual TIE Fighter because the wings actually do that. So it flattens out, and it sort of has a look of like a bat when it's on the ground. All of its wings are or a dragon. That would be better. A dragon would be, but intriguingly, one of the things about that kit though, and I got sent a test shot of it. Marcus sent me a test shot at the same time as the Razor Crest, and I thought that's quite interesting. There was and it looked like there were two TIE Fighters in the box. There was a full one with its wings, as you can see in the picture, and then one that had broken wings. And I thought I've actually been sent two kits. No, that kit there actually includes almost about 95% of what you need for two full TIE Fighters. And what they've done, rather than break out like a brand new kit, they've used quite a lot of the older sort of runners, but you only use a couple of really superficial parts. So what you're left over with is almost the entire structure of an actual TIE Fighter rather than the Outland one, which makes that kit pretty good value for money if you're going to do what I'm planning to do with mine. So just thought I'd mention that if anybody's going to be buying this kit. I have to say it's really lovely as well. It's very much like the Razor Crest. The Razor Crest you can see there. Anybody that's seen my model of this, I posted it everywhere. You can sort of see photographs of this thing there. But seeing it as a full spec boxing with the decals in the kit rather than there you go. That's the Outland TIE Fighter. How cool does that thing look? I mean, it is proper aggressive looking.
That was really cool. For somebody who wasn't impressed with The Mandalorian in general, that's really cool.
Yeah, well, you were wrong, but thanks for joining in.
Yeah.
I do appreciate you joining in with that. Should we talk about the last Star Wars that Roy Sutherland mentioned earlier on?
No, don't.
He gave that a brutal assessment, didn't
it? 2 years ago yesterday that I came out the cinema with that ringing disappointment of.
Oh, it was so terrible.
I can't really review it properly because after 45 minutes I checked out and turned it off.
Yes,
I just thought it was so utterly appalling.
The thing about the films were, and I've sort of found this because it looks like I'm going to be building quite a lot of Star Wars stuff over the sort of coming months, is that the designs are really good fun. They are within canon. There's some great machines in there that are really nice to model and really interesting to model. And these new Revell kits, Revell do seem to have sort of hit a sort of a rich theme of subjects with these new releases. The one thing I think though that seems to be causing some problems, and it must be licensing, so I don't really sort of want to get into that, is that they are European releases and UK releases, and it would appear that anybody in like the States and around the rest of the world is going to have trouble getting hold of these, which I think is a shame really, because they are very nice kits. Whatever you do, don't take a look at the box art model that Revell used for the Razor Crest, because it is, as I think we've discussed on here, terrible. I don't quite know what they were thinking with that really. But I'm intrigued now by seeing a full spec kit of this, because I will be building another one of these, but not building it as Razor Crest. Razor Crest is quite a specific version of a gunship, so I'm going to actually build it as a gunship this time, and build it in, the colours that you would have from whatever. I don't. It's not an Empire vehicle, so it'll probably be in greys with maybe red trim on it, and maybe even add some extra parts onto it. Different guns might be interesting.
I actually think, well, you've had a nibble at the Razor Crest. I think you should share the wealth out a bit there, and those of us who haven't had the, essentially what I'm saying is I want your Razor Crest kit. So,
right, you'd need to have a word with Revell about that, and ask them to release me of my obligation to build another one.
Fair enough. If it's a professional obligation, I'll let you get away with
that. Well, you could give me your Hellcat when it arrives, and we could swap.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
See, but I've also had another spaceship, John, haven't I? Which you might want to grab the photograph of that I did. I not send it to you?
Do you know what?
You just turned into a sci-fi modeler now, then.
No, but I think this one is intriguing enough to talk about. So if you can grab it off Messenger, John.
I'm just pulling the picture up here. Do you know what? I was so disappointed this afternoon to discover that the Settles in Frome had closed that I looked at this picture only fleetingly. And my first thought was, you've scored another airbrush, but then it turns out you haven't.
Yeah, I looked at that and went, oh, hang on, this is a spaceship.
Yes, this is something that's been sent in by the airbrush company for me to build and to paint, but it will be something that goes back to the airbrush company. They want it for their sort of showroom, which is fine. This I saw this for the first time earlier on this year and thought it was a neat idea. Essentially, it's obviously a spaceship that has been created around the design of an airbrush. So it's sort of pulling up on that idea. So almost it's more of a kind of a promotional gimmick rather than a sort of a spaceship design that sort of works in its own way. So I was intrigued by it. Anyway, the airbrush company got in touch with me a couple of days ago and said that they got the only sample in the country, and would I be interested in building and painting this thing and taking a look at it? And I was suitably intrigued. I have to say, this kit has arrived. I haven't taken any more photographs of it. It is almost astonishingly detailed. It is Bandai level of complexity, and it is a full spec, full blown science fiction kit that just happens to be in the shape of an airbrush. Not only is it that, but it also includes a full suite of LEDs that allow it to power up all the engines, the inserts that go where the adjustable threaded nut would be for the needle on an actual airbrush. It's all fully lit up. Everything is enclosed within that. So it's sort of taken the idea and put it up onto another level. Now there are two versions of this kit available. One is the Architect, which is the ship, is available as a standalone kit, but then there is this limited edition version which has been created to run alongside Iwata's airbrush line, and that's the one that I've got. So that's what this is. This is this limited edition version. How they differ in terms of an actual kit, I'm not sure. But as I sort of brow raising as it is as a design, as a kit, I've seldom seen anything that's more detailed than this thing. It really
so my question would be, who actually tooled it?
Well, I that would be difficult to know because doesn't seem to be anything that shows on there. But from what I've seen, Drew, of Bandai's work in and around the Star Wars kind of universe and everything, it wouldn't surprise me if they hadn't had some hand in this.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That was kind of where I was edging, if you like. Is if it's that much of a Bandai thing and it's from Japan, somebody of that order is likely to have been involved in tooling it.
I mean,
it does look like a cross between the Roger Young from Starship Troopers
Yeah.
the Sulaco from Aliens, and the medical frigate from The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, I mean it's got all. It's a believable looking ship, isn't it? You sort of see.
I would say with the exception of the paint cup. Yeah, that just looks, I mean, to me, the power unit is completely separated from the main body. That just seems perfectly sensible.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just, a lot of it just seems to make absolutely perfect sense. The only standout from there that doesn't seem to fit to my eyes is the paint cup.
I mean, and certainly if you were to make it without that paint cup, people who wouldn't even blink at it, I don't think.
No.
But also, it says it's 1/3000th, which obviously it's a free-form design, so it could be any scale you want it to be. But it is a sizable model as well. I think it's almost sort of 26 centimeters in length. It's not a small little miniature. It's sizable. But I can't stress this enough. The detail and the molding quality on it is, again, we go back to Bandai. Bandai are almost held up in this genre as being like their top of the tree. That it's like, to me, a levels of quality. But this thing is molded in different color plastics. It's got all sorts of, it's got the inserts that you need. It's got that full LED pack. It's an extraordinary product, and one that I think people will perhaps enjoy seeing it finished. And I can't think of a more unusual design and a more unusual crossover within our hobby and industry almost ever, really. I think it's whoever came up with this must have, it must, whether it was one of those, sitting in the pub moments, well, we could do something with this, could we? Excuse me. But there's been quite a lot of artwork that's appeared on Twitter recently, and I've noticed from a particular artist who's taken household objects and turned them into spaceships, into science fiction, and use things like sort of randomly recognizable shower gel bottles and sort of converted those, or I think one of them was something like a sort of a stapler, had converted a stapler into a spaceship, that kind of thing. So I thought you'd like to see this, because it is very unusual, and I'm looking forward to putting that thing together. It's see how it goes together.
Looking forward to seeing you put it together. Is that a Christmas project or?
Which kind of leads me to something else that I thought might be interesting before we go. That's sort of been bugging me, really, and seems to bug me more and more at this time of year. And I thought it might be sort of worth putting out there, seeing whether I'm alone in all of this, really. I spend my life building models. That's my job. I build models for a living. So I'm given projects to do, and I make decisions based on those projects and everything. But I'm finding more and more that when I don't have those projects to do, and when those projects aren't given to me or are for a specific reason, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to build models. And I found myself in a position over the last couple of weeks, which is slightly concerning, in that unless I have a specific reason for building a model, whether it's a book or whether it's for work or whether it's for a commission or whatever, I don't touch them, don't build them at all. And I look at them and think, I ask myself the same question. Why am I building this? What's the reason to build this model if it's not for a book, a commission, or I'm not building for, I'm finding, it could be I'm burnt out. Sorry, John. Could be I'm slightly burnt out, and it's because I do so much of it through the year. But I get to this part I hit this point in the year every year, and I think, this isn't fun to me. I don't want to do this. I need the break from it. I don't build models to relax anymore. I build models for reasons.
No, it's your profession.
Yeah.
It's your profession, isn't it?
I'm kind of like in a similar boat, in as much as I'm happy. I'm actually happier if I'm building something for a reason. If I'm left to my own devices and I'm building something for me, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere. I like having a deadline or a reason, or to use the French word, a raison d'etre.
Raison
For
d'etre.
why? That's your actual French, Mr. Horn. I need a reason to be building something, and often I can be building something that actually is not something I would be interested in as a modeler. For example, going back 2 years ago, building that Italeri one night scale Vespa moped. I'd never go out and buy and build that. I have no interest in doing that. Built it. One of the best experiences I've ever had. 2 years ago, Christmas 2019, I built that Italeri 24 scale fire brigade Land Rover. I wouldn't go into a shop and buy that. I've everything about it, no interest whatsoever. Built it, enjoyed it, loved it.
I mean, but the thing here is
the reason. I have this model is required. Can you build it? I'm happy.
Yeah. But both of you are essentially involved in the business as a job. I'm not.
No.
Oh, no,
it's like me. Yeah. It's like me finishing for Christmas for 2 weeks now, and I get to spend 2 weeks playing with my hobby.
Yeah, but no, Drew.
I don't want to see a machine for the next 2 weeks at work. I don't want to. I don't want to be grinding bits of Lynx helicopters and 101 main gearboxes and stuff for the next 2 weeks. I don't even want to think about that. I want to go back and do my hobby. So the idea that, especially you, Spence, when you finished a day's work modeling, that you don't want to then sit down in the evening and pursue the hobby of modeling.
It's funny as well.
Why would I expect it? Why would anybody expect it to be any different?
Yeah, I think the issue becomes, and I spoke to Elizabeth about this. Is I work from home. Everybody knows that I work from home, and so while I'm at home during the week, Monday morning to Friday night, that's what I do. I build models and I write about them and do all of that sort of stuff. When I'm not doing that, I kind of wander around. I'm a bit like a caged animal, and I think I should be doing this. I should be doing, and then I start looking at videos like Games Workshop painting videos is my current obsession, and I think, I should do that. I could, and everything. And then I walk into the workshop and I think, I'll paint this figure, and I pick it up and I go, nah. And I sort of I kind of wander, and it does. I think it's a sort of a word du jour, really, isn't it? At the moment of fire break. I almost need a fire break within what I do. Just to sort of settle my brain down and everything. And I have ideas of things. Normally at Christmas, I build something that's slightly off the wall, something science fiction, but I'm doing that anyway. Or a car. Well, I've done that anyway. I do a motorbike, those kind of things. But I have found, like, this week, I had a whole week where I could sort of build something, and I thought, I'll do that and everything. And then I started questioning myself. And then what happens then is, at the risk of this sounding like I'm on the psychiatrist couch, but I think it's an interesting thing for people to hear about, is then I start questioning, because I don't want to do it, I start questioning whether I still can. And then I sort of sit there and I think, I can't do this anymore. I have no desire to build models anymore. I have no desire to sort of keep pushing myself. I've sort of hit that place where it's no longer something that I can drive myself to excellence. If you like, you almost get to that point where you want to retire from building models. It never happens, but it is a period where your emotions start to sort of get people, and often we've sort of talked about this on here. People say, well, it must be great to do your hobby as a job. Yeah, that's the problem.
I think it's awful. I don't envy you at all, because this should be a hobby. This for you was a hobby once upon a time.
Yeah.
And now it is entirely, you are entirely driven by not the demands of others, but you know what I mean, the requirements of the job you're doing.
Yeah,
that is entirely what's driving you to spend time at that desk doing things.
Yeah,
entirely. Yeah. So the idea that at 5 o'clock in the evening you want to go and play Assassin's Creed for 4 hours or do anything like that, again, it's like, I wouldn't want to come home from work and then go on a CNC grinder for an evening's entertainment.
Yeah, it makes sense when it's worded like that. It does make sense,
I think you need to make peace with the fact that it is your job spec.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
And also, people sort of say, "Well, why don't you just build something different?" Why would I want to do that?
I don't.
We've had that lot, haven't we, over the years? People have said, when you get burnout, build something different. No, same process. I kind of always sigh a little bit when people say, "Oh, you should try something that you wouldn't normally build." It's like, no, that's not helping. That's a complete waste.
It's a bit like saying I am physically exhausted from walking up and down mountains. Well, try going for a different walk.
Yeah.
No, the legs are physically exhausted. They are.
It's that kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think the other thing as well is it's because we live in a world where what we do is so visible to everybody, and you are only ever judged on your last model. You're judged on your last piece of work. It's as simple and straightforward as that. And that if you dip below that, you feel like you've sort of failed somewhere along the line, and that creates its own problem. Underpinning it all, I don't really care. That's the fundamental part. I don't really care what people think of my work. However, there has to be a recognition that I'm only in this position because I'm good at what I do, or that my work's good, or my models look great, and all of that sort of stuff. So although there are people out there that are far, far better than I am, I mean, head and shoulders better than I am, I still have to maintain a certain sort of standard, and that, I think that just becomes its own debilitation, really. And you certainly you get to this point where, this point at Christmas, and I'm like, yeah, I really wish I could do that. And now I'm like, yeah, I don't really kind of want to do that anymore. And I find myself being slightly antagonistic towards something I love because it's making me feel unhappy. And yeah, you're right. You should just play Assassin's Creed or Watch Dogs or whatever, and just go off and do your own thing, and then start again next year, and try.
Yeah, I mean, you're on holiday, so
yeah,
don't build models on the holiday. You do it for a living every day. If you've broken up for Christmas, you've broken up for Christmas. So play Assassin's Creed. Go down the New Inn and have a few beers with your mates and do that. And it's whereas for me, having 2 weeks, nearly 3 weeks off means that I can sit down at my bench every day and get some serious hobby.
I guess it's the creative part of you. You sort of almost feel that you have to switch it off before you can sort of switch it back on again, and then start again next year. John talking about sort of painting figures and learning how to paint figures. Me sort of moving on to sort of science fiction and all of that kind of thing, and learning that. But I just thought it'd be interesting for people to hear that sometimes it's not. You can't keep it. You can't be creative 24/7, 365 days a year. It's impossible. Anybody that says that, I'm not Prince, I can't write, 365 hit records a year like he sort of managed to do. You can't do that. I don't think it's possible to be creative like that. You do need the sort of the break. So occasionally you see a break on my Facebook page, but I don't do anything. I haven't put anything out there.
Yeah.
Sort of, do you know what I mean? And you sort of think, yeah, okay, I can kind of move on and everything. But yeah, I'm glad you understand about the do something else. No, I don't really want to do anything else. That's not helping. That's like saying I feel sick because I've drunk 10 pints. Well, in that case, go and drink 5 more. No, that's not really.
I feel really ill because I've drunk 10 pints of bitter. Well, why don't you try whiskey?
Yes, try something slightly lighter next time.
Yeah, but no, I completely get it. People say, "Oh, well, you can build a car if you're bored with aeroplanes." No, it's not.
Yes, indeed.
It's not. There's no direct correlation there between. No. That for me, building something completely out of my comfort zone.
Yeah,
is not refreshing.
No,
it's challenging. I've got to build that icebreaker at some point, and that is totally and utterly out of my comfort zone. But the thing is, I want to do that.
Yeah, and you'll do a really good job on it as well.
Hang about. The thing is, you want to do it, mate. You've got to do it.
Well, yeah, I have. But the point is, John, I want to do it. If I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't have said that's mine when it was announced, would I?
I mean, I looked at. We've got a couple of. I went up in the loft, and I don't know what you're like. Sometimes all of us have got stashes that we'll never ever build. And I went up into the loft the other day, and I pulled down the Monogram F106 and the Hasegawa F15C kit because. The Monogram F106 I still think is brilliant, and the Hasegawa F15C I've got a couple of them, and I thought, well, why don't I just build one and put it together? And it's got A parts in it as well, and I started thinking about that, and sort of brought them down and everything, just to sort of get the juices flowing a little bit, and it did. It sort of worked a little bit, but then that creeping doubt sort of came in and everything, but tomorrow, Elizabeth's going out tomorrow in the morning. She's meeting up with some friends and doing all that sort of stuff. So I think what I might do is just sort of sit there and just clip parts off the runners and then just sort of see what I could kind of come up with. You know, I mean, that F15 is still lovely, isn't it? It's still it's still really nice. So and I keep seeing photographs. That's the thing with me. I know, and I know that you two are almost exactly the same. Certainly, Drew, you are. I have to be inspired by the real thing. That's where my sort of catch me is. I don't build, and I've sort of spoken about this before. I don't build models inspired by other people's models. So I won't look at something online and go, "Oh, I really want to build that now because I've seen that model," which is sort of counterintuitive because that's the job that I have. I'm there to sort of inspire people to do something similar. But I have seen some F15s in the loop. With like black with the dark grey nose radomes and all weathered up and everything, and those Lakenheath birds look brilliant, don't they?
I mean, nothing has made me want to build an F-35 more this year than watching 4 brand new shiny F-35As go into the pattern at Lakenheath and land on, and you think, oh, I really want to build one of them.
I really want.
And then you go and watch a couple of the last couple of years air show videos of the F-35 with the new software release and stuff, and you're going, now I really, really, really want to build an F-35, and suddenly it suddenly becomes an incredibly attractive subject for you because you're watching it do its thing.
I also wonder as well as whether the lockdowns had an effect, because we've spoken online, but we've not had face-to-face interactions. And so I didn't go to the national championships. I haven't been to a model show since I went to Rob Monfils' show in Bolton in February of last year. I haven't spent time with model makers since then, other than
I think the overall impact on me of the last couple of years in almost every aspect of my life ultimately, and that includes modeling, has been negative. And at the end of the day, it's nothing about
it. Because you chat about when we go we still joke about the cabal meeting up at Froome, don't we? When we outside of it. When you're sort of in a model shop with friends and you're looking around at shelves and you're chatting. Me and John went to Antics. Was it this year? Or was it
last year? That was before lockdown last year.
And we went to Antics, and that's what spiked the Legacy collection, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That one visit. So you're going into shops and you're chatting to people and everything, and doing all of those kind of things, or going to a museum and looking at real machines, and I do think that's had an impact as well, because you're pulled along by the enthusiasm of others, and we've not really had that, have we?
No, I mean, I've looked at my build rate this year, and if I finish this Tomcat before New Year, that'll be 12 kits I've built this year, which is really pathetic for me.
Yeah, by your standards, that is.
I'm normally at least double that. I'm normally in the mid-20s per year. And this year it's been 12.
I don't think I'll hit 20 this year. Normally I would, but I don't think I'll hit 20 this year. I don't think anywhere near that.
It'll be another historic year where my output exceeds Drew's. That will be.
Yeah.
For the record books.
I mean, the most shocking thing for me is I know he was watching earlier. I don't know if he still is. Was Ivan has built 2 models this year, and when he showed the 2 models he built, I was like, seriously? I got the impression that you'd been smashing them out this year, like all year long.
I thought that as well.
Like, no, I've built 2, and it's like, is this a widespread malaise? Caused by the ongoing,
and of course that's the thing, isn't it? That if you're not in the zone happily in the zone, creativity can take a hit, and what we do is a positive thing. Excuse me, is a positive thing. So it's not, we're not writing sort of dour music or love songs based on a broken heart. We're building things and trying to be sort of creative. Interesting sort of thing though. But the three of us, I guarantee we're going to be busy next year. There's a lot that's going to be hitting our collective workbenches. So we definitely, I mean, I've already got 6 or 7 models lined up already that need to be done for 2022. So, it's not, I'm listening. I mean, I've got the 3 science fiction builds, OV10, the Chipmunk that I'm going to do, the Tomcat that Drew's building at the moment. I've got that Panzer IV F1, the Hummel. I've got loads. I've got all sorts of stuff, so it is going to be busy. We are. What colour scheme are you doing yours?
I was just about to ask you exactly that. And this one, I'm going to do the totally low-vis swordsman aircraft.
Oh, right. Okay. Because I'm going to do, I'm going to mirror my 72nd scale swordsman builder, and I'm going to do it in the pale grey one.
Right. I'd originally, for some reason, I thought that there was a completely low-vis Checkmates aircraft in the box, and it's not. And if it had been the Checkmates one is the one with the coloured tails and stuff, and I thought it was a complete. For some reason, I want to build a totally low-vis Tomcat with no colour on it at all. And I thought there was a VF211 option in the box, which was in that scheme, because I think the VF211 totally low-vis is a great scheme. But it's not. But the swordsman one is, so I kind of switched straight to the swordsman one. So you're going to do the gold grey swordsman with the coloured tails and stuff. I'm doing the totally low-vis swordsman.
Yeah, which means as well, if I do that one, it means I can do it as, I think it's a CAG aircraft, isn't it? Which means I can have it so that it's not as weathered as the last one I did. But also, I'm assuming as well that it was a good reminder that it is still the greatest 48 scale aircraft kit.
It's just, it's like, well, let's switch, and it's just what consistently amazes me is just how everything just clips together. This nose just pops off, and the wings just pop out, and the tail just pops off, and all this stuff underneath, all the intakes and stuff. I mean, that's just glued in. That's just placed in place and glued.
Yeah, and
that is literally everything you need to do to that.
Yeah.
I could run a bit of Scotch-Brite at that just to remove the glue marks, but it's not really necessary.
No.
This section of under intake here that clips in, there's actually a visible join there where I've glued it. But you know what? There is on a real aircraft, so you leave that as well.
Yeah.
In fact, and then this nose just boom done.
Yeah. I mean that when I built the first one that I did, and I put that nose in, I was like, that can't be right. Because I painted as you may have, all 3 of the ones I did them all in sub-assemblies. So I didn't glue the intakes or anything together. I painted.
Yeah, I mean, mine's for initial painting, mine is going to be like this. I'm going to do the initial greys, because it means I can really get the division line between the 2 greys, right, and then I'll glue it together and deal with any work there and touch it up. But yeah, it's just it's just the way these wings are that huge spar that screws into place.
Yeah,
and those wings just go in like that, and that's it.
I'm intrigued to see what that's the first time I've seen the wings look like that, with them obviously broken with the flaps and the slats as separate kind of.
And the other thing is, I don't know if you've seen it yet. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Spencer. But the thing is, like let's have a look. Which side is that? That's the starboard side. So the leading edge slat comes molded with a section of the underside of the wing in it.
Oh wow! Okay.
And so you've got a recess at the here, so it means it's exactly the perfect angle, and that just plugs in. That just plugs in. Like
okay.
And there's your. And there's no ledge here like there shouldn't be on the leading where the slat well is. Yeah. So that means that effectively you can paint all this separate, mask it off, get the red underside of the slats in place, do all this, and then that'll just a literal light brushing with cement and just pop that in place, and everything is at exactly the perfect setting and angle.
That's a genius piece of design, and I'm assuming the flaps are the same, although
and bear with me, I'm just going to see if I can find the correct flap. There we go. So let's get the flap, and the flap blurt. You've got these big locators here.
Yeah.
And so that just pops straight in there. There you go. Done.
Oh wow.
Okay. And the thing is, as I pointed out, the wing is set up obviously for this to be deployed. There's no other way to do it. So all the angles here are exactly right, and the angle that the flap deploys at is right. So it's on a sort of cam on the real thing. It comes out slightly and down, rather than it doesn't slide, but it is just a rotational movement.
Seeing them like that, one of the discussions about this kit originally was that you didn't have these parts deployed like this, and obviously this kit is very specifically set up, isn't it? It's set up for that that carry.
Yeah, there is. So there's the underside of the wing completely, and you can see how well that fits. It's one of these typical things like the leading edge of the Lightning where it's separate, and you think, well, that's asking for trouble fit wise.
Yeah,
and then you go, no, well, it's Tamiya. Of course, it's not asking for trouble.
Yeah,
it's just going to be utterly perfect. So yeah, once it's in place, that's your.
I mentioned I mentioned the setup because of that carrier deck that's included in there. There are the vast majority of Tomcats sat on the ground on a carrier deck or naval air stations have everything sort of tucked back and everything pulled in. But there are photographs of Tomcats, not a lot from what I can see, but there are some photographs of Tomcats on the ground with slats and flaps.
Yeah, and I mean my argument, your argument was pretty much my argument all along, is that a Tomcat with the wings all packed away is exactly how a Tomcat should look.
Yeah,
with slats and flaps deployed, it's a rarity.
Yeah,
really,
not unique. It's not
not unique, but in the way this is set up, unless you're doing you could do it with the normal nose wheel and nose leg and have it sat there with the wings forward and the slats and flaps deployed, but it's a relatively rare condition to see a Tomcat in,
and
which is why I preferred. Yeah. Which is why I preferred I wouldn't build a Tamiya Tomcat like this if I wasn't building it for a reason.
Yeah.
I would still build.
And part of that, Drew, is they're big with the wings out. Even at 48th, it's a big model, isn't it? That's the two Tomcats that I've got here.
That is not a small aeroplane.
No,
he says, catapulting the canopy onto the floor. I'll probably run over it now. You watch.
Don't do that.
Crunch.
Oh no, I see it.
So it's much smaller with the wings all tucked away and sort of oversleep or whatever. So, but yeah, interesting to see what you're doing with it and whether or not your opinion still stands, because
thus far there's no way it can do anything else but stand. It's it's quite simply the most phenomenal piece of model engineering I've ever seen. And I know people have said the Phantom is better, but the Phantom is simpler.
Yeah, I don't think the Phantom is better. I've built both, and I genuinely don't. I think the Phantom's got some little areas on it that don't quite, they're not quite perfect. Where there's nothing on the Tomcat that just doesn't.
No, I mean this for me thus far in terms of filler on this model. I'm using a little bit around I'm using a little bit around where the fairing goes in place, because that's not a panel line on the real thing.
Yep.
So you need a tiny little bit just to blend it in, and then I'll rescribe there because that's not a panel line on the real thing. And bear with me, I'm trying to think. There's definitely another area where I've used a bit of filler. There, yeah, on the underside of the intakes there. Look.
Oh right, yeah,
just at the front there. There's like a tiny bead of filler. But when you're talking about something as complicated as a Tomcat, and I've got to this stage of the build, and that is the only filler I've had to use on it.
Yeah.
That tells you everything you need to know.
I think more so when you look back and you think about those Hasegawa 48 scale Tomcats.
Well, that's the thing, is that almost everybody else, any other Tomcat that's ever been out there, and I still haven't built the Academy 72nd one. I must do that. You have. It's just to get a shape that complex and that involved and have it fit just so utterly flawlessly. I mean, the two places I'm using filler on that are not faults of the kit.
No.
It's it's something that has to be dealt with because there isn't a seam line there on a real aircraft.
You mentioned the Academy kit. Everything that the Tamir kit is in 48 scale, the Academy kit is in 72nd scale. I mean,
it's actually quite shocking. I haven't built one yet.
Have you bought one? Did you buy one? Do you own one of the kits yet, or did you find it difficult? Oh, you of course you did. So yeah, I mean, they were difficult to get hold of at one point, weren't they? They were hard to
it was. Mr. Andy from Antics obliged, and I bought.
You bought a case.
I bought a case of them because apart from the ejector seats, which they only have the GRU 7s in it. You can build basically any Tomcat from that box that didn't have the original beaver tail.
Yeah, you can.
It's an extraordinary piece of tooling. Again,
it's bizarre that they didn't include the two different seats, really, because.
And they've told them, it's really annoying because the initial test shots showed the two seats.
Yeah.
So they have been. So clearly, obviously, there's a D and a B to come because. It's all, all the parts are there. So straight from the box, you can build a B. Yeah. And if you find a pair of resin seats, you can build a D.
Academy very much were inspired, I think, by the Tamir kit. You only
because Tamir probably wouldn't do this in 72nd at some point. So,
gentlemen, I'm afraid we are going to have to wrap up for this evening. Who's around Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm available. Yeah, I'm on holiday.
Wednesday then will be our Christmas bash, and there won't be a show tomorrow night, folks. That's why we're doing a show tonight. The reason why there won't be a show tomorrow night is because, essentially, I've got other things that I'm doing, including spending an entire day listening to Radio 3's Christmas Around Europe broadcasts, which are marvelous. And that's all you need to know about that. So there won't be a show tomorrow night, but we'll try and do one for Wednesday. And then obviously next weekend, it's that whole Christmas shebang thing.
That whole Christmas thing.
Yeah, that whole Christmas thing. But we might do some pop-up lives, might do some work.
Sneak in for a pop-up here and there, so to speak.
Yeah, there'll be a pop-up here and there. So anyway, any other business?
No. Basically, just thanks for inviting me along again. It was fun. Yeah.
Just to be clear, you're not the forgotten member of IMC. You resigned.
I did. Yeah, I sort of did resign, didn't I? Yeah.
No, you didn't. It's like Hotel California. You can leave, but you can check out, but you don't leave.
I took a sideways step. I think I didn't fully resign because you can't really resign from this, can you?
I don't think so. I mean, it was a brave attempt.
It was an attempt.
You resigned to it, but you can't resign from it.
Yeah, it was a brave attempt. We weren't having any of it. You knew that.
Yes, pretty much. And yes, hence me appearing on a fairly regular basis ever since.
Yeah, I mean the thing is when you do turn up, an hour turns into an hour and a half every time at least because do you know what? All joking aside, as three people talking, just it works even better.
Yes,
in terms of. Keeping the conversation rolling. I mean, John and I can go for an hour and a quarter, no problem at all. And we do frequently. But it does work even better with three of us doing it.
Yes, which probably means that I need to be here on Wednesday. Don't I?
Well, it is like the end of term Christmas blowout, and you'll all get to find out how I got expelled from school back in 1983. So there'll be all kinds.
Better go then, haven't we? Better be here.
Secret insights into the no. I'll tell that story because it's honestly it's such an anticlimax. It's hilarious. Trust me. Yes. So on that note, we will be back on. Fingers crossed, we'll be back on Wednesday. I know I'm yet again, I'm doing a great big grand tour of the West Country next week. But I think Tuesday I'm down in that Porlock / Minehead /
nice.
Lynmouth and Linton, so possibly. But other than that, no, I should be local. Like I say, it was nice to be in Frome today. I'd like to say a big shout out to Luke at the Frome Model Centre, who sorted some bits and pieces out for me, and we're doing some projects with them in the new year as well, possibly some live, not live from the shop, but possibly some tie-ups with them and doing some live, online demonstrations and things. And yeah, as I said, rather disappointing to find that the Settles restaurant on Cheap Street has closed down rather suddenly, which we've all had some splendid days there. But I'm sure it'll come back in another form.
Hey ho!
I'm not sure I've been in there actually.
Yeah, you've been in there.
Yeah, you've been there.
Yeah, you've been in there. It's up the street with the culvert running down the middle.
Yes.
I think I have. Yeah.
No, you definitely have. There's a picture somewhere, so we'll.
There is pictorial evidence.
Yeah, there is still the. I'm trying. I've been in touch with various internet providers. I've been trying to get rid of that photograph that was taken in the Crown in Wales, but I'm struggling to get rid of that picture.
You're right to be forgotten. It's not going to happen.
That if that was to ever come out and be.
You're right to be forgotten as bang straight up against our desire never to forget anything.
Yeah. Also, Spencer, as you know, that when it comes to these kinds of gatherings, photographs always going to get out at some stage.
Yes, so, indeed. Yeah, I mean that was a pretty shameful example of lobbying. It was lobbying of the worst kind, wasn't it? And
it was.
And I do feel that I'm really running the risk of losing my seat at the IMC table as well.
I'm at the risk of losing my voice at the moment. For some reason, I've just got a bit of a croaky voice tonight, and I need another glass of Lidl's excellent glue wine.
John's bored. He wants to go.
I'm gonna go and raid my beer fridge and which sounds far more grand than it is, but it's something I love dearly.
Otherwise known as the fridge.
No. It's a proper little kitchen beer fridge, a little thing that I treated myself to earlier on this year.
What's this concept of keeping beers in fridges?
Oh yeah, cool. John likes it to be.
I like my beer proper, lad.
Room temperature and flat.
I might go and have a beer, but I don't know which of the 52 bottles I've got in the front room at the moment that I'm actually going to touch. So.
Blimey, that's a good night out.
Yeah, I'm off.
Do you know what? It's kind of like I only have to drink 2 bottles of beer a week anyway. So
I honestly wish I could say the same.
I think originally there was a vague idea that Drew might be coming up this Christmas. Sadly, Drew, I'm gonna have to break it to you. Ain't gonna happen, mate. Not in this current climate. Sorry to tell you. I'm sorry. Your whatever it was you had at the Abbey Tea Rooms in Glastonbury, that was your Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Wow. Unbelievable, isn't it?
I feel like I'm watching a breakup in real time.
It's not my fault. It's not.
It is. I mean, this is like a cut scene from Love Actually, the one that they.
No, honestly, it's not looking at the news headlines tonight, and it's just like. Yeah, we really want to avoid that. To be quite,
I think somebody just doesn't want to share their 55 bottles of beer.
There is that as well.
I think there is that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm. If you need a shoulder to cry on, Drew, you do know where I am. It's.
Yeah, an afternoon in the new inn.
Yes, indeed. That would be very, very nice. Right, boys. Well, thanks very much.
Hilarious, wouldn't it? If suddenly we did a pop-up and it's just you and me sat in the new inn and John's going, what the...
It would be hilarious because I'd be trying to work out how the heck you've managed to get into the studio here. So that would be hilarious. Anyway, on that note, it just remains for me to say thank you to these two for an evening.
Yes. Okay. No offense.
The crackly microphone and him. Throwing a strop because he's not going to get his hands on my 52 bottles of beer. So On that note,
I'm not throwing a strop. It's all being noted. It's fine.
He's writing it down in his little book. It's worse than the death of Stalin. This
Disappointed.
That's it. He doesn't look angry. He just looks disappointed. That's
the worst kind of angry.
I know. I mean, it's the derpster. It's the kind of look that you get off derp. I'm the kind of
disappointed. I'm the kind of disappointed that a girl would call fine.
On that note, wow. we will see you on Wednesday for our Christmas bash. Until then, from myself and from Drew and from Spencer, thank you for putting up with us this evening on tonight's unusual Saturday night show. We'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, stay safe.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. See you later.